Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a special video where I'll be discussing about the answer writing skill. What are the things that you need to keep in mind before you write General Studies mains paper of Civil Services examinations. So we'll see what is an approach to the mains paper, how you need to understand the questions, what are the nuances that you need to know before you actually write your paper. So we'll understand everything from top to bottom. And before I proceed, I'll just let you know what are the things that I'm going to discuss in this. Apart from the discussion, there would be some model questions and answers which will help you to understand that what are the things that we need to incorporate while we write the answers, right? So there are many dilemmas and as some basic questions that an aspirant come across when they write the mains paper. So we'll understand everything one by one. So those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. And if you like this video, do not forget to give a thumbs up. So how we'll start a session? First and foremost, I have segregated the topics, the queries, the concerns, the dilemmas which are there for an aspirant, right? So first and foremost, we'll understand what are the basics of answer writing. What are the things that you need to approach before you write an answers, right? Either it can start from the mock test paper and finally landing to the mains answer sheets, right? So what are the basics? We'll understand one by one. So talking about the first and foremost basic is to understand the question and its nature. This is very important point because what happens that recent times UPSC tend to ask the question which is contemporary in nature as well as static in nature, right? So for both the nature of the question, you need to understand how you need to bifurcate your answers, right? So understanding the nature of the question is very important. Sometimes the question is completely concept based, so accordingly you have to write that concepts. Sometimes it is related to current affair, you have to again connect the dots with the current affair. We'll come into current affair part also. And talking about the nature, right, how you have to connect, how you have to answer that question, the framework is very important. So we'll understand that this is a broad idea which I'm giving you about the understanding of the question. So this is the first and foremost thing. Now second comes to connecting the dot, that is with the current affairs. Now this segment is very important. Like most of us who prepare for the civil services examination, most of the aspirants who prepare devote a lot of their time in current affairs. So current affair is substantially contributing a lot, but when it's come to write that in the mains paper, many students lag because they're unable to connect the dot. So whatever you are reading, try to make a notes and try to be precise when you write in the mains answer, right? So you have to connect the dot, right? Whatever is there in the news, can that be related as an example to the current affair? So these points are very important. So you have to every time keep in mind while you read current affair, you have to interrelate that which sections of general studies paper this is going to important. Suppose you're studying about the GST or you're studying about the any cyclone which is taking place. So something which was there in the news has to be written in the mains paper in every context, right? So current affairs has to be included. Now the third most important point is addressing each segment of the questions. Now this is again very important. As you know, UPSC tend to ask question in at least three parts. Mostly their questions are bifurcated in three parts, right? So answering each parts of the question is very important, right? So you have to address the each sections of the questions. Accordingly, the marks are distributed in the mains paper. Suppose the question is of 20 marks, right? And what UPSC want from you that they have segregated the segment. Suppose they're asking you to define, they're asking you to also analyze that question and give a brief idea about that also. So each section would have some devoted marks and accordingly the examiners tend to give the marks. Now the fourth most important point is language. By language I mean that whatever language you have opted, either it could be Hindi or English, you have to write your answer in basics to standard language, right? You don't have to use such word which do not define your idea. So you have to be very precise while you choose the word, you choose the language. You don't have to use some jargons or bombarding language that do not make sense to that answers. You have to be very lucid, you have to be very articulative when you write your answer. You have to convey your message. Answer writing, while a base answer is being written by a candidate, it establish a connection between the examiners, right? So the examination, this is an invisible way of communication that you're establishing with the examiner. So use a language which is basic, moderate, it can be standard language, but don't try to use such superfluous word which is something which is not required at this point of time. You have to don't show your vocabularies of English, rather you have to be articulative in your answer writing. So this is the fourth most important point, fourth most basic point of the answer writing. Now, adherence to the word limit and the time limit is something which is very important. Many students have tend to ask this question. Many students have queried, sir, whether we should stick to a word limit. Definitely, you have to stick the word limit. Suppose mostly UPSC asks you in question 3 word limit. There is 150, 200 and 250 words. So here and there plus minus can be 20 words, not more than that, right? So you have to adhere to this word limit. And by time, I mean to say that time is very important for you when you are appearing for the mains paper, right? For each question which you have to appear, you get 7 minutes, right? So roughly 7.5 minutes is the time which is allocated to you. If you divide it by you have to practice. Just I'm sharing, I want you to get into the detail of that. You have to calculate, if you're appearing for n number of question, how many time you need to devote, how much time you need to devote. So my calculation says that you have to devote somewhere close to 7.2 minutes to 7.5 minutes to complete one single question in the mains paper. This is, I'm talking about general studies paper, right? So you have to be very precise. At the same time, you have to understand the length and breadth of the question so that you can answer each and every segment of the questions, right? So this is something which is very important, and these you have to keep in mind. Now, moving ahead to the some another important basics that you need to understand is facts, figure, example, and flow diagram. Now, this is something which call for a lot more practice. This can only be done in the real examination once you have practiced before the examination, right? So talking about facts, suppose if you're writing answers, you're writing an economical data, you're quoting something from economical survey. So in that point of time, you need to give the data, right? You need to give the facts. So at this point of time, the fact is required. Unnecessarily do not overdo that. In every question, you have to incorporate facts, figure, examples, or flow diagram. Each and every question have their specific demand, and you have to fulfill that demand, right? Don't try to be perfectionist while you write the answer. It has to be more than 60-70% more than average, right? So facts and figure, talking about facts. So I've given you an example. If you're quoting something where facts is required, you have to quote. Again, figure. By figure, I mean like you need to write a diagram. You need to draw a diagram where it is necessary. Suppose you are talking about the climate change, or you're writing questions about any cycle, nitrogen cycle, anything like that. So in that particular case, you can have a figure. By figure, I mean diagrams. These are the things that you have to observe. Now talking about examples, how example become very relevant. Suppose you're writing about a government schemes, government policies. So at that point of time, you need to give an examples, what government has already been using to uplift the social welfare programs, how they have done it. So these examples, if any case studies being done, any other sort of example that you have read in newspaper, you can utilize that. Now other come to flow diagram. This is something when you write a questions like how the governance can be improved, what are the role of PRI, public, the institutions, how the PRI can be improved. So in that particular case, you can show your answer with the flow diagram as well. So make sure you bifurcate these three things, the four things between facts, figure, example, and flow diagram. Now, other most important thing is speed and handwriting. Now, many of the student, this is a notion that handwriting is not important. Yeah, that is not that important. I say you don't have to write in very neat and clean, but your answer should be legible. It should be easily read to the examiner. The more you make things easy for him, he will make things easy for you as well, right? So suppose if your handwriting is not well, this is a right time that you need to focuses upon. And whatever points I'm discussing, this is more relevant for the students who try to prepare civil services prelims and mains together. No, this is the right strategy to crack this examination. You cannot prepare only for prelims and after you qualify prelims you have to prepare for mains. This strategy would never work for you and you will eventually land up in a failure positions. So while making this video, this is specifically to help student. Suppose the examination was about to held in month of June, so you get this much time. No, the exam has already been postponed to 10th. Now what 10th of October is the time how you can utilize this time. You must have already completed your prelims syllabus, right? So this is the time to work on the answer writing and improve your handwriting. Your handwriting, I'm just again quoting you, your handwriting should not be something which is very neat and clean. It should be legible. There should be difference in the word you write. And why I'm focusing upon speed, because when you have to complete your answer in 7.2 minutes or 7.5 minutes, the speed, the handwriting tends go on decreasing. The level of the neatness go on decreasing. Once your speed get increased, the level of handwriting, the cleanliness, the neatness again gone decreasing. So you have to proportionately maintain a balance between your speed and the handwriting, right? So these are some of the basics which no other institution would teach you, and this is something which has to become retrospectively, right? So I have already traveled with this field. I have written a lot many mains paper. So that is why I'm just telling you that these are some of the important things that you have to keep in mind so that you actually understand the importance of the speed and handwriting, right? Now, the last point which I wanted to discuss with you is about the practice and revise. This is something which is again will contribute and this will reflect to your mains answer, right? So you have to practice a lot more, and whatever notes you have made, whatever mock test you have given, you just revise it before the examination. You have before the examination, I mean that you have to maintain a rhythm, you have to maintain a schedule. Accordingly, you have to follow it, right? So these were some of the basics of answer writing that an aspirants do not keep in mind while they prepare. Everything in UPSC, everything has to be planned. You cannot do mains answer practicing after your prelims examination. This I can bet that you have to do it simultaneously with the preparation of prelims and mains examination. So this was all about the basics of answer writing. I hope things would be clear to you. And talking about the practice and revise, we at AptPlus in our IS Gland platform, we are providing free daily mains answer mini test. So what you can do, you can participate on daily basis and you can write your answer, you can share your answer script, and our evaluators will just help you to evaluate that and get you to the right point how you can improve that. So this is a free initiative which you can find in our ISGAN websites. We have another course for you where you can join a test series for the mains 2021. This would help you to learn, revise, test and succeed in the examination. So for all these two things, I have provided a link in the description section, so you can check it out and you can utilize that so that it can help you to excel in the mains examination. And before I proceed further, I will be also discussing some model questions with you. So this model question will help you to understand what are the things that you need to incorporate before you write the exam, mains paper, or how are the answer script that has to be framed. So we'll discuss some of the important questions. There are total 5 questions which I'm going to discuss. So the first question is, legacy of colonial rule has a huge impact on independence India foreign policies, right? Indian foreign policy. So you have to discuss this. Basically we'll be discussing question from General Studies paper 1 to paper 4, right? So these are the 4 sections which I have included. There are 5 questions and we'll see what are the approach. For some question I will give you complete answer, for some question I will give you an idea how you need to approach that. And you can also get this PDF on the link section, right? You can get down, you can reach to the description section. आप वीडियो के लिंक में जाएं, डिस्क्रिप्शन के सेक्शंस में, वहाँ पे आपको PDF में मिल जाएगी. मेक श्योर यू डाउनलोड इट, और either you can refer to our IS Gyan website, there the PDFs are available. So post-independent consolidation and reorganization within the country, this can be the section under General Studies paper 1, and how you have to approach this answer, right? What are the right approach? So in this question you have to first give an introductions that should include the context that evolved India's foreign policy. This is the first thing that you have to keep in mind. Second, you have to talk about the impact of legacy of the British rule to the Indian foreign policy. And third, you can conclude this answer with the current relevance, if any. Now we'll understand, I'm just giving you a detail of this answer so that it will help you to know what are the contents that you need to include. So talking about the introduction part, so you can write that there is no doubt that in 1947 marked as a watershed moment for Indian foreign policy. There's no doubt about that. This is evident, but it involved a colonial yoke before the 1947. और अगर बात करें इंडिया की फॉरेन पॉलिसी, दैट वाज गाइडेड बाय द कंसर्न्स of the newly independent third world countries and the socialist orientation. So this is a introduction that how you can start with. Now we'll see the second part, that is the effects of legacy of British rule on Indian foreign policy. So I have included this point. I'll not read out everything. I'm just quoting all the 6 points that is important. You can write about the distributed neighborhood, the border issues, the diaspora you can include. So you have to cover each and every aspects of the questions, right? International organization, socialist democratic model, ISMA, and non-violence. So this is something, it was aggressively used by the Indian during Indochina, Penguin, Congo, Hungarian and Korean Peninsular issues. So this would be the effects of British rule on Indian foreign policy. Now talking about the other part, this would be the third part. This is the conclusion, what you can write, that the rising movement in favor of decolonization concerned the apartheid of prevalent neo-imperialism that has acted as an imperative for India to remain independent at the act line of inherent from the national freedom movement. So you have to use whatever you have read in the post-consolidation pre-Indian context. You have to use your answer, you have to assimilate it, right? And the other point that you can write is that India therefore could not afford the proactive engagement in this prevalent world order, leaving the domestic obligation attending more in priority. So these are the 2 points which I have discussed. You can definitely get the PDF of it and you can read the entire answers. Now we'll see the second question, that is, this is from General Studies paper 2. Discuss the role of parliamentary standing committees. Is it correct to say that they are the watchdogs and make an executive more accountable to the legislature? So this can be important for the subsection in General Studies paper 2, Parliament and State Legislature standing function, conduct of business, power and privileges, issues arising out of these, right? So I have already mentioned the syllabus so that it can help you to connect with the syllabus. Make sure you have syllabus with you so that you can connect that which subtopic I'm talking about. So for this question, what should be your approach? I'm just giving you a brief because we will be already providing a PDF to you. So what would be the approach? Brief introductions about the Parliamentary Standing Committee. This is what you have to write in the paper. Discuss its role and functions. Is it correct to say that they are the watchdog? If any, you have to name any committees that has been formed, and how they make executive more accountable to the legislature. And finally, you can have a conclusion. And for contemporary examples, which I have told you in the basic part, what you can say, like talking about the Farm Bill, right? So recent controversy regards to the Farm Bill has also called for that the Parliamentary Standing Committee, the PSC, was not actually being consulted. So this was the reason that the apprehension has been raised that if we have such institutions, we have such setup, why government has not referred it to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. So the recent example can be taken like this way. Now the third question, this is from General Studies paper 3, Talking about its subsection, it would be from achievement of Indian in science and technology, indigenously of technology and developing the technology. So what is technology transfer? This is a very possible question considering the fact that the COVID-19 vaccines manufacturer are talking a lot about the technology transfer, right? So what are the necessary scientific to know about preconditions of it? Discuss its key component which make it successful or failure. So for this question, I will give you a brief idea. I will just help you to understand with the content. So for this answer, we'll discuss some important points. So what would be your approach to write and define it? So first is the definition of technological transfer, scientific know-how and the preconditions required for the technology transfer, key components that lead to its success and failure and the way forward, right? So this is how you have to write your answer in this framework. So first talking about definition, how you can define that technology transfer is a process of transferring scientific finding, knowledge, manufacturing process, technology and precision, right, of an organization from one to another for the purpose of development and commercialization, right? So this is something which is very important. You can talk about voluntary licensing, you can talk about compulsory licensing, you can give examples and you can cite that, you can relate that with the vaccine manufacturing problems. So main aim of the technology transfer is to develop intervention from the lab to the marketable products. So this is how you have to write. You have to talk about intellectual property right as well, how that can be waived of. Recently United States are talking about the waivers for the IP and intellectual property right under the TRIPS. Now talking about the other parts, technology transfers के scientific knowledge and know-how's preconditions क्या हैं. So you can use all these points that how it can be a well financial mechanism to fund the research and development initiatives. It can develop an IPR regime which facilitate technology transfers. So you can read the entire point, right? And other is the strong adjudication framework to settle the dispute. So already at this point of time during the vaccine manufacturing, it has been waived off. So there would be no adjudication work that can be done with this regard. Now, key components that makes it success or failure, definitely there would be joint ownership, joint funding, joint control that is needed. You can talk about the clear definition of the program, giving solutions, technology obtained through the technology transfer, analyst of market, competitions, demand and targeted exploitation of the market. Fourth would be periodic control and adaptation strategy, equitable sharing. This is something which is very important. Equitable sharing can be a financial spin-off in the further research. Now, how you can conclude, what you can write in the way forward, you can conclude that technology transfers work to complement academic research by pushing innovations at lab outdoor into the hand of industry partner who will develop them into the products for the benefit of the general public. So this is very much related to the present vaccine productions, right? So make sure you cite an example which is contemporary in nature, which you are reading in the newspaper on a daily basis. Now, the other question, this is a fourth question. India has recently committed to expand the share of non-fossil fuel to 40% by 2030. Discuss the implication of it for an economy and economical and sustainable development for India. So if you talk about the subsection, it is under the General Studies paper 3, conservation, environmental pollution, degradation and EIA, right? So you can approach, you can introduce by giving the current status of the non-fossil fuel in the country. What is the present status? Discuss various steps taken by India to expand the share of non-fossil energies. Give detailed implication of the economic and sustainable growth of India. You can talk about the commitment to the Paris climate change, PCC, India adherence to the intended national determined contributions. So you can write everything. Utilize what you read in current affair in the mains answer scripts, right? And way forward can be concluded in this answer, right? So the last question from ethics, this is from the General Studies paper 4, which the subsection would be public services, values, ethics and public administration, status and problem and ethical concern. So the question would be, administration must perform their duty to promote public welfare by seeking a balance between the virtue, principle, good consequences, explain and illustrate. So when it comes to explain and illustrate, you have to definitely give an example. You have seen recently that the district magistrate in Assam was being witnessed in a marriage ceremony that he slapped the people. Again, a new video were viral from Madhya Pradesh. So this calls for public welfare, seeking a balance between the good consequences, how they can promote and harmony, and what are the things how empathy has to go when it's come to administration, right? So what you can write, you can give a brief idea about the duty of the administration. Definitely this is a time where a lot of hard work has been put in by the civil servants. They need to you can focus upon the concept like virtue. You have to specifically define what is virtue, what is the principle, what is consequences, right? So that it can make your answer more lucid. Discuss the merits and demerits of aligning either to make this decision in this offices. So you have to consider the ethical dilemmas that is there in the administration. Make sure you keep your notes ready with all the short points, with short words. You have to define everything when it's come to the answer. Same accordingly go with the case study. If you're writing in the case study, you have to use the same methodology. सो फॉर इथिक्स आई जस्ट रिकमेंड कि आप जितने भी वर्ड्स हैं इस तरह के उसके डेफिनेशंस याद कर लें, बिकॉज that will help you to give a foundation to write in the ethics paper, right? Hope this video would be helpful to you. This has given you a lot more insights, basics to advanced level, and these are the things which you keep in mind before you write actually in the mains paper. You can gradually start, you can start these ideas with the mock test paper. You can join a mock test and you can accordingly work so that it can rigorously help you in the actual mains paper. So apart from this, we have a lot more initiatives in our YouTube. We have daily news and editorial analysis. We have fortnight current affair. We have our magazine, IAS Gazetted Journal, which will help you to know the entire month news. So these are the lot more initiatives that we cover. You can watch each of them and make your preparation more easy with us. So this was all about the discussion. If you have any other concern, do let us know. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much for listening.